My name wasn't on the cake, because they decided my birthday belonged to someone else. I'm Evan Park, 20 now, but this story started 2 years ago, on the night I realized you can lose your place in a family without anyone even noticing. I grew up in Cedar Grove, Ohio, the kind of town where everyone smiles at you in public and talks about you in private. My dad, Thomas, runs a small auto shop. My mom, Linda, works nights as an ER nurse. And my older brother, Ryan, well, he's the golden one. Star of the soccer team, family favorite, permanent main character. I was the quiet one, the reliable one. The son who didn't need reminding, the one who kept the peace while everyone else made noise. For years, I thought being easy to love meant staying small, until my 18th birthday taught me what invisible really feels like. If you've ever been the quiet one too, the one who listens, waits, and hopes your turn will come, stick around. I want to tell you what happened when mine finally did. And before we go further, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Because stories like this, they only matter if they remind someone else they're not alone. Anyway, about that night. When I was 17, my parents threw Ryan a massive 18th birthday party. Rented hall, DJ, fireworks, the works. I didn't need all that. For my 18th, I asked for something simple, a backyard gathering, string lights, a bonfire, my own playlist, a few close friends. Mom actually seemed excited. She said, "You've worked so hard, Evan. Let's make it special." For the first time, I thought maybe, just maybe, it would be my turn to be seen. And then Ryan came home from college. He leaned against the kitchen counter one afternoon, that same grin that always got him what he wanted, and said, "Hey, remember my 18th? I barely remember it. Let's redo it. This time chill, backyard style." Mom's eyes lit up. "That's a great idea," she said, then turned to me almost as an afterthought. "Evan, sweetie, you two can share the party. It'll be fun." I didn't say a word, but something in me cracked. By the time the night arrived, my playlist was gone, my cake replaced, and the banner over the patio read, "Ryan's 18, again," with a bright winking emoji like it was all one big joke. That was the moment I realized, no matter how quietly you behave, how hard you try, some families will still treat your milestones like someone else's encore. And that night, I finally stopped pretending it didn't hurt. That night, I stood in the corner of my own backyard, holding a red plastic cup of flat soda, pretending to laugh at a joke I didn't hear. The fire pit crackled, music thumped from Ryan's playlist, and people I barely knew filled the space I'd helped decorate. My friends huddled together near the fence, awkward smiles plastered on their faces, like they weren't sure if they were really supposed to be there. I remember staring at the banner again. Ryan's 18. Again. Its cheap gold letters glinting under the patio lights. I'd helped my mom hang the string lights that morning. I'd arranged the food table, carried the speakers, even gone to pick up the cake. But somehow, in the middle of all that effort, the one thing that was supposed to belong to me had quietly been erased. Mom moved around the grill, giving instructions like she was hosting a wedding. Dad stood near the cooler, beer in hand, laughing at one of Ryan's stories. Ryan, of course, was the center of it all. The guy could fall off a roof and still land on applause. At one point, I walked up to my mom and asked, "Where's the banner we made? The one with both our names?" She blinked, as if she honestly didn't remember. "Oh, that one looked too cluttered, sweetheart. This one's cleaner. Don't make it a big deal." She said it so softly, so rationally, that it made me question myself. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was just being dramatic. But then I heard someone behind me say, "Wait, isn't this Ryan's party? Didn't he already turn 18? And Ryan laughed, "Yeah, we're just doing a redo." He's tagging along, my own birthday. Something cold settled in my chest. I looked around the yard, people laughing, talking, clinking glasses, and realized I wasn't part of any of it. I was background noise. I'd been invisible before, but this time it was like I'd been edited out. My best friend Noah came over and asked quietly, "You good, man?" I forced a half smile. "Totally fine." He didn't buy it, but he didn't press either. That's the kind of friend he is, the kind who understands silence without asking for explanations. Then, just when I thought I could survive the night by staying on the sidelines, Ryan climbed onto one of the patio chairs, raised his drink and said, "Yo, everyone." "Quiet down for a sec." The music stopped. All eyes turned to him. He grinned, soaking up the attention. "Thanks for coming out tonight. I know it's been a while since my 18th, but, new memories, right? Couldn't have done it without my family." "Thanks, Mom." "Thanks, Dad." The crowd cheered. My parents beamed. I waited, just a second, for him to say something, anything that acknowledged me. Nothing. Not my name, not my birthday, not even a glance. And in that moment, I realized something brutal. They hadn't forgotten me. They just didn't think I mattered. My ears rang, my hands shook. I put the cup down and started walking, through the chatter, the laughter, the glow of the firelight that suddenly felt too bright. "Evan?" Mom called after me. "Where are you going?" "We haven't done cake yet." I turned back. "Did you even get one for me?" She hesitated. "It's vanilla, Ryan's favorite." "Everyone likes vanilla." That was my answer. I walked out the gate and didn't look back. The music got fainter behind me, replaced by the steady sound of my footsteps on the pavement. The air was cold, but it felt clean, like I was breathing for the first time all night. By the time I reached the front door, my chest ached, not from anger, but from clarity. Some people spend their whole lives waiting to be seen. That night, I stopped waiting. Because if they couldn't make space for me at my own table, I'd build one myself. I didn't cry that night. I didn't scream or slam a door. I just sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the wall, trying to understand how a family could make someone feel so small without even realizing it. My phone buzzed twice. One message from Mom, one from Ryan. I didn't open either. I already knew what they'd say. Something like, "Don't take it so personally," or worse, "We were just trying to have fun." 2 days passed before Mom finally cornered me in the hallway. She crossed her arms and said, "Are you going to keep acting like this?" "Like what?" I asked. "Like we did something to you," she said. "We just wanted Ryan to have a nice night too." I laughed under my breath. "Right. Because he doesn't get enough of those." She frowned. "You're being dramatic." That word hit harder than any slap could have. Dramatic. It's what people call you when they want to erase the parts of you that hurt. I didn't answer her. I just walked away. But in that silence, something inside me hardened. Not anger, exactly, but resolve. I'd spent 18 years waiting for permission to matter. That was over. The following week, I started planning my escape. College was coming up, and I already had a scholarship. My parents had offered to let me stay home to save money, but the thought of living under that roof another day made my stomach twist. I applied for housing near campus, accepted extra work-study hours, and began packing early. Dad helped load my boxes into the car that August morning. He didn't say much, just a few awkward pats on the shoulder, the kind that mean I care but never I understand. Mom hugged me tightly and whispered, "Call us if you need anything, okay?" I nodded, though I knew I wouldn't. For the first time, as I drove away from that cul-de-sac lined with perfect lawns and polite neighbors, I felt something close to peace. Freedom doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's just the sound of your own name echoing back after years of silence. College was a different world, loud, messy, alive. I didn't know who I was without the role of the quiet one, but for once, I had space to find out. I joined a film club during orientation week, mostly because they were screening Good Will Hunting in the Quad, and it felt symbolic, watching a story about a kid who had to leave home to prove he was more than what people said he was. Classes hit hard, work study hit harder. I took a job at a campus cafe, opening shift, 5:30 a.m. starts. Between that, assignments, and scholarship essays, I barely slept. Some nights I'd eat instant oatmeal for dinner, too broke to complain, too proud to ask for help. There were moments I wanted to quit, to call home, to pretend none of it ever happened. But then I'd remember the banner, the cake, the laugh Ryan gave when someone asked if it was his party, and I'd push through another day. Still, loneliness has a way of creeping in when you least expect it. Mine came in the quiet moments, after closing the cafe, walking back to the dorm through freezing wind, watching other students FaceTime their families. I'd think about how Mom used to call Ryan her sunshine, how Dad always introduced him as the one who's good with people, and I'd wonder what they said about me. Probably nothing, but life has this strange rhythm. It breaks you down just enough to make room for something new. For me, that something was film. The more I helped with the club's short projects, the more I fell in love with storytelling, the way a single scene could make strangers feel seen. A senior named Maya noticed me one night after I helped edit her documentary. "You've got a good eye," she said. "You know how to find emotion in silence." No one had ever said that to me before. Her words stuck. She invited me to join her team for a student film competition. We shot on borrowed cameras, using campus hallways and the back of a diner as sets. It was chaotic, exhausting, but it felt alive. When her film won third place, she handed me the certificate and said, "You saved this project, Evan. Seriously, you have a gift." That night, I sat on the dorm roof, the city lights flickering below, and let myself feel something I hadn't in a long time. Pride. Not the kind that needs validation, but the kind that whispers, "You're finally becoming who you were meant to be." A few weeks later, my screenwriting professor pulled me aside after class. "You've got something, Park," he said. "You understand people." That's rare, he offered to mentor me, help polish a short script for a writing fellowship. Only 3 students got accepted each year. I didn't expect to be one of them, but I applied anyway. Between the cafe job, tutoring freshmen, and editing film projects, I kept myself too busy to think about home. I didn't post much online. I wasn't chasing likes or attention. For the first time, I wasn't trying to prove anything to anyone. I just wanted to build something real. And for a while, I did. Until one day, out of nowhere, my phone buzzed with a name I hadn't seen in months. Ryan. 3 words. "You think you're better?" I stared at the screen, heart steady, mind quiet. "No," I thought. "I don't think I'm better. I just finally stopped being less." At first, I ignored the message. It felt like a mosquito bite. Annoying, but not worth scratching. But then more came. Paragraphs, accusations, jealousy disguised as outrage. "You've been pretending you're some big shot," he wrote. "You made everyone think I'm the failure. You only got that internship because they needed diversity." That last line made me stop. Half Filipino on my mom's side, something my family never really talked about, unless it was convenient for a holiday photo caption. Growing up, it was always "Ryan looks like Dad," never "Evan takes after Mom." I guess even my genes were invisible. I didn't reply. I screenshotted everything just in case, not to expose him, but because a part of me wanted proof that I wasn't crazy, that this pattern, this bitterness had always been there. A few days later, Kyle, my best friend from back home, sent me a screenshot from the family group chat. There it was in plain text. "Ryan. He thinks he's better than us. He ruined my birthday, made Mom cry. Let's see how long he lasts without Dad's money." And then my father's reply, "Don't worry, he'll come crawling back when the real world hits him." That line. It looped in my head all night like a song I couldn't turn off. Not because it surprised me, but because I'd spent years pretending he might secretly believe in me. That maybe beneath the silence and favoritism, there was still a father who saw his son trying. But no, he'd made his choice long ago. And this was just the proof I needed. I didn't punch a wall. I didn't even cry. I just sat at my desk, staring at the reflection of my laptop screen in the window, and whispered to myself, "All right. Watch me not crawl." The rest of that semester hit hard. Work, classes, long nights that bled into early mornings. I was surviving on caffeine and willpower, but under that exhaustion, a quiet fire started to build. For the first time, I wasn't trying to earn anyone's approval. I was building something despite them. In February, Maya texted me, "Remember Alex from the Film Fest? He's starting a production team, wants to talk to you." Alex was a local producer who'd judged the film competition months earlier. Sharp guy, mid-30s, carried himself like someone who knew exactly how to turn chaos into story. We hopped on a video call that weekend. "I'm launching a digital media wing," he said. "Short documentaries, social storytelling, branded content, authentic stuff. I need writers who can make people feel something in under 5 minutes. Maya says that's your thing. Paid?" I asked, half joking. He laughed. "Not much, but enough. And it's remote. You can balance school." I didn't even hesitate. "I'm in." The work wasn't glamorous at first. Drafting voiceover scripts, checking transcripts, researching stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. But it was real. My words were being read by producers, turned into scripts, filmed by crews in places I'd only seen on TV. It was a start. That spring, one of the directors in Alex's circle, Rafi, a creative with too many tattoos and too few hours of sleep, read one of my short scripts. It was called The Second Son. "This one's got teeth," he said. "You ever think about directing it?" I hadn't. Not seriously, but his words stuck like a dare. For weeks, I rewrote that script between classes and cafe shifts. It was a quiet story, a college kid, estranged from his family, trying to build a new life while haunted by the noise of the one he left behind. It wasn't subtle, it was me. Maya helped me polish it, pushing me to dig deeper. "Don't just show the pain," she said. "Show the silence between the pain. That's what hurts the most." When I finally submitted The Second Son to the campus film fund, I didn't expect anything. A month later, I got an email. "Congratulations. Your project has been awarded $3,000 in funding." It wasn't much in the film world, but it was everything to me. We shot that fall, 3 weekends, 2 borrowed cameras, a skeleton crew of students who believed in me more than my own family ever had. We filmed in abandoned classrooms, empty parking lots, even a run-down diner that charged us in free coffee. The last scene, the one that haunted me, was simple. The protagonist sitting at his own birthday party, surrounded by people, unnoticed. The camera pulled back slowly until he was a small figure at the edge of the frame. Alone. When I finished editing, I watched it alone in the campus media room. By the time the credits rolled, I realized I was shaking. Not from sadness, but from release. For years, I'd tried to make my family see me. Now, strangers would. We submitted The Second Son to a regional student film festival. I didn't tell my parents, didn't post about it, just wanted to see what would happen. And what happened changed everything. The film didn't just make the finals, it won. Best Short Film, Best Original Screenplay. When they called my name, I froze for a second, like I needed permission to stand up. But then Maya nudged me, grinning, and I walked to the stage. The applause wasn't wild. It was steady, respectful, real. For the first time in my life, the room was clapping for me. Later that night, as we celebrated in a cramped diner booth, I checked my phone out of habit and saw a new message from an unknown number. "Saw your film online." Powerful stuff. Ever thought about sharing it with your hometown paper? I didn't know it then, but that message was the spark that would turn quiet vindication into something much, much louder. The message came from Laya, a former student from my old high school who now worked in media consulting. She'd been one of the judges at the film festival. When we met for coffee, she smiled like she was remembering a long-forgotten face. "I taught at Cedar Grove High for a bit," she said. "I remember you, quiet, polite." Always in Ryan's shadow, her words stung, but she didn't mean them cruelly. Your film, it hit me. You should let people back home see it. I know a few editors at the Westwood Chronicle. They'd love a story like this. That night, I sat in my dorm staring at the email draft for hours. Did I really want to open that door again? Did I want them to see what I'd made, the people who'd never asked how I was doing unless it was to compare me to someone else? Yes, because sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's exposure. So I sent the screener. A week later, the article went live. Local student wins festival with moving film about family silence. The piece was simple. An honest review that called The Second Son a haunting portrayal of being unseen by the people who should know you best. It got a few hundred shares on Facebook, then a few thousand. Teachers from my high school reposted it. The PTA moms, Mom's Old Circle, left comments like, "So proud of this young man. Such talent." By the end of the day, my phone started lighting up with notifications I didn't want. "Mom, I saw the article. You made a movie? Why didn't you tell us?" "Mom, people are saying it's about our family." "Is that true?" "Mom, I feel like you're painting us as villains. That's not fair." Then Dad chimed in. "Dad, this is low, Evan. Airing private issues in public? You've gone too far." I didn't respond. Because they still didn't get it. They thought this was about embarrassing them. It wasn't. It was about reclaiming what they'd erased. Jeremy didn't message me directly, but a friend sent me a screenshot of his Instagram story, "Some people build careers on lies." Congrats, I guess I actually laughed. It was poetic, in a pathetic kind of way, but what happened next wasn't something I could have scripted. My university announced its annual alumni gala, a film showcase hosted right in Cedar Grove. They were screening select student works, and The Second Son was one of them. When the department chair asked if I wanted to attend and introduce my film, I didn't hesitate. "Yes," I said, "I'd like that." And then I did something bold, something symbolic. I requested 2 extra guest tickets, because this time I wasn't the one crashing someone else's celebration. I was the host, and they, my parents, my brother, were finally going to sit in the dark and watch my story. There's a certain silence that lives inside a theater, the kind that hums, heavy and alive, right before the lights go down. That night, when The Second Son premiered in Cedar Grove, I stood at the back of the room and watched the audience sink into that silence. Rows of familiar faces, teachers, neighbors, strangers, and in the 5th row, my family. Mom in her neat blazer, Dad with arms folded tight, and Ryan, half slouched, half sulking. For the first time in my life, they weren't the center of the story. They were just part of the audience. When the final scene played, the forgotten boy alone at his own birthday table, the air changed. You could feel it. The lights came up slowly, applause building from the front to the back. And when I stepped up to the microphone, I didn't shake. "This story," I said, "isn't about revenge. It's about remembering that silence has a cost. Sometimes the quietest people carry the loudest truths. I looked at my family but didn't linger. There was nothing left to prove. The truth was already on the screen. Afterward, Mom found me outside. Her voice was small. "You could have talked to us." "I tried," I said. "You just weren't listening." She didn't answer. And maybe that silence, finally, was honesty. Weeks later, The Second Son got picked up by a student film platform. Messages poured in from strangers who said they'd felt the same way, who'd lived the same story. For the first time, the words, "I see," you actually meant something. And that's the thing about being invisible. Once you decide to stop waiting for permission, the world starts to notice. So if you've ever been the quiet one, the overlooked, the afterthought, let this be your reminder. You don't have to scream to be heard. You just have to speak in your own voice, even if it shakes the first time. If this story hit close to home, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Somewhere out there, someone needs to hear that they're not alone. And maybe just maybe, your share is how they'll find it. Because sometimes, the smallest flame is enough to light up an entire dark room.